Hello, it is I.R. Smart, proud Stormtrooper, and this video has been a long time coming. Yes, I'm finally going to be making my video about why the Empire is the best faction in all of Star Wars, alright? Now, I'm going to be making the very difficult argument that it is to make of why the Empire is the best choice for the galaxy. Yes, out of every other faction, the Empire is the best, and I'm going to prove it to you, alright? I don't care, you're probably already typing in the comments, but I.R. Smart, the Republic, the Rebels, the blah 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 blah. I don't care. I'm going to prove them all wrong. I'm going to make every single point that there ever is. I'm finally doing this video. Alright, let's get into it. You may notice, I'm trying something new with this video. I'm going to have like some footage in the background of me playing old classic Battlefront 2, where I'm playing Galactic Conquest. It's super fun. I love this game mode so much. I play as the Empire, and then I like beat up the Rebels. And just so you know, I am playing on Elite difficulty. Alright, I'm pretty good at the game. Just saying. So that's going to be in the background of this video. I'm going to try editing that in, see how that works. It's a new thing I'm trying, just to change up my videos a bit. So anyway, let's just get into my main points. Before we do that, I have some other, notes I want to mention before we get fully into this. I got them written down here. So first I want to mention, I've seen a couple other videos on YouTube that do this sort of thing. There's one notable I remember years ago I watched. It was like, why the Empire are actually the good guys in Star Wars. And it was like a 30-minute video, and I was like, yes, finally someone actually agrees with me on why the Empire is actually good. And so I watched this whole video, like 30 minute long video, right? And then like at the beginning of it, he was like, yeah, the Empire's great, they build this cool stuff. But then he gets to this point and he's just like, the Empire's the good guys, because they use green lasers, which is a good guy color, and the Rebels use red lightsabers, which is the bad guy color. And I'm like, all right, what is going on here? And at the end, towards the end of the video, it's just like, you see, the Empire are the good guys because they use red lightsabers, which is a good color, and the Jedi use green lightsabers, which is a bad color. I'm like, dude, what? It was a satire video, and I was very disappointed because it just became increasingly more satire as the video went on. I was very disappointed because I was hoping it'd be a serious video, but no, he had to go all satire on me. And he made some decent points in that video too, but then it just all went out the window because whatever. I'm going to be doing actual points on why the Empire is good. All right, I truly believe this. All right, this isn't satire. I believe the Empire's best faction. We're going to get into it. Okay. Also, other thing I want to mention, yeah, you're going to be saying, alright, your simple mind, there are going to be those simple-minded people who are going to be like, I.R. Smart, the Empire is the bad guys, in Star Wars, they're the bad guys, and the Rebels are the good guys, Yeah, okay, You're dumb, alright? These movies, the Star Wars movies, are from the Rebel perspective, alright? The Rebels are the protagonists, and the Empire is the antagonist, and people just reduce that to say good guy and bad guy, without actually getting into any of the reasons to why those characters are like that. The reason that the Empire looks so bad is because the movies are from the perspective of the Rebels. They're the ones telling the story. Alright, the people who write history, get to be the victors or whoever that. I forget how the quote goes. It goes something like that, alright? They were the ones who ended up winning, so they got to make themselves look like the good guys in the movies, alright? That's why, alright? That's a big point there. We gotta get that out of the way first. So clear... I want you to do this. Clear out any, preconceived bias you had before going into this, okay? All of that, it's all gone. Whatever your favorite faction is now, it's blank. Blank slate. Now let's get into this so I can actually make my points. Okay, so yeah, I mentioned the Rebels are very biased in the movies. That's the thing. That's why everyone's got their bias. It's out of the way now. Okay, so first we're going to go through some other factions. First up, we have the Jedi, alright? The Jedi just suck, alright? I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of people like the Jedi, and they're cool, like, oh, they got lightsabers and stuff. Let's look at the actual stuff the Jedi does, like right in the prequels, right before everything, turns into the Empire and whatnot, or like before the Clone Wars. So the Empire the Jedi have existed for thousands and thousands of years, alright? And at the point in like 30-ish ABY, during the prequels, it's like they're not really the Jedi anymore. They don't really follow, their morals and stuff. Qui-Gon is already thinking like, hey, we don't really do our stuff anymore, we're not really keepers of the peace and stuff. And then they go off and do the Clone Wars. Mace Windu literally says stuff like, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. And then at the end of the movie, they're off, like, chopping up battle droids, chopping off Jango Fett's head for some reason, because that's super peaceful. Yeah, let's go Jedi, they're so great. Anyway, also it's worth mentioning that the Jedi indoctrinate children into their cult. It sounds bad when you phrase it like that, and that's my intention here. Because you don't think about it like that. They kidnap children, right? We've seen this like multiple times explained in the Clone Wars, how they go and find Force-sensitive children, and they're like, hey, you're Force-sensitive? Hey, guess what, parents? Your kid's Force-sensitive. He's gonna go be a Jedi. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud. They just stole a child. That's what they did. They went up to people and stole their child. That's what the Jedi do. And then they're like, alright, you're going to be raised in a cult, and you're not allowed to have any friends, or emotions, or make connections with anybody, because that's bad. Like, seriously, the Jedi suck, alright? I'm just saying, they suck. They're the worst. Don't become a Jedi. Just don't do it. Now, there's some good Jedi that kind of move away from, like, the strict rules of the Jedi Order. And obviously, Rey is amazing. She's amazing. We're not gonna... she can do whatever. I honestly could not care. She can never do any wrong, so whatever. Well, that's not the point here. But the Jedi are just bad, okay? The Jedi are bad. Honestly, the cool thing Rey did is she kind of, like, made up her own Jedi philosophy, because she's only, like, the only one left. So she can do whatever she wants to. And she's all the Jedi anyway, you know. She's all of them. Literally all of the Jedi. So anyway, I'm trying not to think about Rise of Skywalker right now, because it's going to throw me off. The Jedi, I just don't like them, alright? And they're not that great. Like, they're okay, but they have way too much power, and they're left unchecked. That's a big reason why Palpatine wanted to get rid of them. Because they have all this power, they have so much control over the Republic, and no one can stop them, because they're Jedi. Like, you can't fight a Jedi, they have the Force. They're way too powerful. So yeah, Jedi, bad. Next up, we're going to talk about the Republic. The Republic was very corrupt and inefficient. And as soon as the CIS, the Trade Federation, as soon as the Trade Federation showed up and just started messing stuff up in the Phantom Menace, the Republic was, like, in chaos. They had no sort of military, no sort of way to stop them from just, you know, cutting off all the trade in Naboo. Now, I know you probably weren't paying attention in Phantom Menace, because you were either a child or bored out of your mind. But, this was the plot of the Phantom Menace. The Republic did nothing, while the Trade Federation just screwed around with Naboo. So, yeah, we already see that the Republic's pretty inefficient. Now, democracy and Republic, it's such a good place. No, it was inefficient and corrupt. We saw a ton of this in the Clone Wars. How Padme was, like, trying to do all this good stuff. She was actually trying to be a good senator and, like, represent her people, and she was like, all the other senators are corrupt. They don't listen to their people, and they don't ever get anything done. And we saw a ton of this. There's a whole Clone Wars episode about it. It was kind of boring, and it's probably one of the ones that most people skipped because there wasn't any action in it. But it was a pretty interesting episode, so I don't remember which episode it was, because it was somewhere in the middle, alright? So someone else will have to go find it for me, because I don't remember what it was called. But it was a really good episode, in terms of Star Wars lore. Yeah, I know, I spend a lot of time thinking about Star Wars lore, guys. That's what I do, okay? So next up, yeah, Republic. It's corrupt and inefficient. It's just not good. It's decent, but it could be better, alright? First Order, what even is the First Order? They're just a copy of the Empire, but a bad copy of the Empire. It's literally a satirical take on the Empire. It's like, the writers of the sequels were like, hey, the Empire is like an evil faction with stormtroopers and TIE fighters and like a laser planet that blows stuff up. Yeah, we're just gonna copy that and just do it again. It's very lazy writing on the First Order, which could have been a very interesting faction, and there is some interest in it. But they do take a note out of the Jedi's page, and they start kidnapping children. So, I mean, hey, go Jedi, you know. So yeah, the First Order kidnaps children and indoctrinates them and brainwashes them and makes them into soldiers. So yeah, the Jedi and First Order, they're way more in common than you realize. So anyway, yeah, just boring. And Final Order isn't even worth mentioning. We're not going to go there. And then, let's see, what else? New Republic, yeah. They're bad. They just suck, right? It's the rebels. We're like, we defeated the Empire. What do we do now? Well, I guess we make a government. And we don't know much about them. Not much is known about them because they don't get talked about. Because they're not worth talking about. They're stupid. They don't do anything. They're like, oh, we're just going to do what the Republic did. Because that was great. Yeah, so they're like, oh, democracy. We got all this stuff back. It's finally democracy in the galaxy again. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, what's this? The First Order's rising? Oh, we don't care about them. And the Resistance is like, hey, Resistance, we're going to go stop them. And the Republic's like, we don't care. It's not like they're going to blow us up. The spoiler alert, they get blown up. Their New Republic is now gone, thankfully, because they didn't do anything. They were just annoying, honestly. So thank goodness they're gone. But yeah, New Republic, just stupid. Not even worth talking about. Mandalorians are kind of like a faction of their own. I figured I'd mention them. Especially because in the Book of Boba Fett show we just saw that, you know, Empire blew up their home planet, which kind of makes us look bad. Especially because the Mandalorians are kind of cool. I'm going to be honest, I kind of like the Mandalorians. But they had it coming, alright? They're super, like, militaristic, and they were just annoying. They were going to rebel eventually, and whatever they did, they deserved it, alright? They definitely deserved it. If we went to that length of bombing that we went to, yeah, they deserved it, alright? Whatever it was worth it. Let's just go with that, alright? And then let's get to the point The CIS, I think they were actually pretty good. They were like, hey, the Republic is corrupt and not actually as representative as it should be. We're gonna separate from them. And the Republic was like, oh crud! And the Clone Wars happened, which was like probably more destructive than than the Galactic Civil War. You could make that argument. How it just like got everywhere in the galaxy and was just all fighting all over the place and destroyed so many good planets. Well, it didn't really destroy them, but like in, you know, blowing them up, but like it kind of just it ruined a lot of stuff. Let's be honest, with the fighting between droids and clones. Also, a point about the clones: clones are child slaves. All right, they are 10-year-olds that have been brainwashed and given guns. Again, what is up with this whole thing we got going in the galaxy? The Empire never did this. I'm just saying, we never kidnapped. Being a stormtrooper is voluntary. It's voluntary service, which is crazy. That doesn't happen more often in the galaxy. So yeah, being a stormtrooper is 100% voluntary. Like it's just recruiting. You just decide. There is no forced becoming a stormtrooper. You're not forced to join the Empire. You can just live out your life if you're an imperial citizen. It's amazing. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Yeah. So what was up with that? At least the CIS had the great idea of making droids. But droids do have, you know, consciousness, which is still kind of messed up. But at least it's not, you know, making literal human slaves from some guy's DNA and having them go fight off in the war and have that be their only purpose in life. That's kind of messed up. Seriously, Republic, you were just okay with that? But yeah, so Clone Wars, what the heck? I mean, they're cool, and it was a cool series, but really messed up if you think about it too much. And then Resistance, I kind of already mentioned, they're just dumb. They're just rebels too. Like, they literally only exist because the New Republic was dumb, and they had to make themselves a thing to fight the First Order. Yeesh. And then Rebels are the worst. They are terrorists, and I hate them. I hate them so much, and they are the worst, alright? People don't realize how bad the Rebels are, alright? They take, you know, like, victims of, you know, like, some conflict that they probably started. They started, like, attacking the Empire, right? And that conflict between the peaceful Empire, but still militarized Empire. You know, it's like what Teddy Roosevelt said: "Speak softly and carry a big stick." The Empire has a really big stick. We got all sorts of military might, and we were just standing there, all chill. We just, you know, got rid of the Republic and created peace. And the rebels were like, "Hey, fight us!" And we were like, "Okay." And then we like started beating up the rebels, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the rebels attacking! The Empire's attacking us. They're so evil. We have to fight back now." It's like they started it. They were the ones who started it. They are rebels because they're rebelling against us. We didn't attack them. They attacked us, and we defended ourselves, and then it became the whole Civil War, but whatever. It was annoying, alright? The rebels are just annoying. They're awful, and I hate them, and they're terrorists. And so, like, whenever there's a victim of, like, one of our big battles and stuff, you know, destroys, like, a whole town or something, then those survivors are like, it's the dang Empire that did this. And the rebels are like, hey, come join our ranks, because you hate the Empire now, because it was definitely them who destroyed your home, it wasn't us. Yeah, the rebels are awful, alright? So, also another note I'd like to mention here. You know the Ewoks, you know, these, you know, not really peaceful, but just like aliens that were very primitive on Endor. We, as the Empire, were just like, there's natives here, we're gonna ignore them because, you know, it'd be kind of, you know, rude of us to like screw with them or like indoctrinate them into our ranks. That'd be really messed up if we did that. So we're gonna leave the Ewoks alone. Rebels, on the other hand, are like, hey, free soldiers, let's go. Free soldiers, we don't even have to like train them. They already know how to like fight with sticks and stuff. We can just have them go be cannon fodder for the Empire. Let's go. So yeah, the rebels are kind of messed up for doing that. Also, I hate Ewoks. They're terrifying. They're literally the worst. They're so scary. Have you played Ewok Hunt in the newer Battlefront? Literally the worst. So yeah, kind of messed up rebels that you took up this alien race and used them as you know, just bodies, more bodies to like you threw them at us. You know. You may say it's bad that the Empire killed them, but, you know, they were using them as a shield, essentially. Like, that's really messed up, rebels. Anyway, so let's talk about some bad stuff the Empire did. I have to admit this stuff, because obviously the Empire isn't perfect. I'm not saying that the Empire did nothing wrong. You know, that's just, you know, too difficult for me to prove. So, first one we gotta get out of the way, Alderaan. Yeah, we blew up Alderaan. Alright? We did it, okay? We blew up Alderaan. Was it 100% peaceful? No, that's a lie. The rebels were lying. Leia was lying when she said, "Oh, we're peaceful. We have no weapons." That's a lie. Bail Organa was there. He was like a huge guy in the rebels. All right, they were harboring all sorts of like weapons and ships and all sorts of stuff on Alderaan, and we blew it up. And Obi-Wan was like, millions of lives were suddenly silenced, right? Millions, not billions. I know, it's a small distinction, and I'm still trying to justify the deaths of millions, but, this isn't gonna go well for me. Let's just move on. Yeah, the Empire, another bad thing we did kind of do a teensy little tiny bit of genocide, like just a little bit, like just a teensy bit, like sure, we kind of like wiped out a ton of Wookiees, and we totally got rid of the Geonosians, but the Geonosians were gross. They were all icky and like they're just bugs. They're like really oversized bugs, and they talk weird, and they were annoying. All right, we used them to like do a bunch of construction work for us. We kind of worked them to death, and then we used like a plague virus to get rid of them, and it was this whole thing. But they were annoying. Okay. Empire apologist. It's a very difficult job, guys. It's very difficult to be an Empire apologist. But yeah, they were bad. Okay, genocide bad, and also Wookiees and a ton of other alien species. We were just like, ew. Wookiees I don't like Wookiees. They're just annoying. They're big and furry, and I don't like them. So yeah, moving on. Yeah, we're just generally not nice towards aliens. Just at all. Like we don't allow them into our ranks as stormtroopers. Like there's a couple races. Like if you can fit into a stormtrooper helmet, you're good to be a stormtrooper. But for the most part, we don't like aliens. Like it's like try to imagine a Twi'lek wearing like a stormtrooper helmet. It wouldn't work because they got those big head tail things. They wouldn't fit. All right. So like if you can't fit in a stormtrooper helmet, you can't be a stormtrooper. But like there's a couple. And also like Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was a high-ranking imperial, and he wasn't a human. So props to him. We don't totally hate aliens, and we kind of just say like kind of just let them exist. We really don't like aliens. They're just kind of annoying. But they can still exist. Like you see in the Mos Eisley Cantina, in the Outer Rim, we saw that the Empire has a presence. There were stormtroopers there. They weren't like just going around beating up aliens. It's not what we're there for. We're just kind of like, go away. Just don't try and join our ranks. Just go over there. We'll leave you alone if you leave us alone. Best thing we can do. All right. Also, Palpatine's a little evil. All right. They try to play him up as more evil in the movies, especially the sequels. The sequels just make him comically evil. Like literally, he goes from being a really good character just being like comically evil. It's dumb. I'm not gonna think about Rise of Skywalker right now. But basically, he was like, "Hey, the Jedi are bad," which I already explained, and so we got rid of the Jedi. Okay, so we got rid of them, and then so then he does this, and he becomes the Supreme Chancellor, and then becomes the Emperor. Right now, the simple man may say, "Oh, he just wanted to become power. That just makes him a standard bad villain because he just wants power and nothing else." No, that's not true. He did actually care about the galaxy. He wanted to make the galaxy a better place. He saw the Republic was inefficient and bad. He reformed it into the Empire, which is way better. He got rid of the Imperial Senate because he was like, you know what? Having all these people meddling over what we should do is inefficient and dumb. I'm just going to decide everything. Is it bad having one person decide everything? Yeah, it kind of is bad. But it's efficient and it gets stuff done. And it was working pretty well. Like, he's not stupid. It's not like we just have a bad, stupid guy making decisions. He's a smart guy. Palpatine was very, very intelligent. So yeah, Palpatine, pretty good ruler. Alright, I'm just gonna say it. I would re-elect if we had elections. We don't have elections. But if we did, I would definitely re-elect Palpatine. So vote for Palpatine. But yeah. Let's move on. Wait, no, I got one more point. In Legends, the Yuzong Vong War was like this threat, the Yuzong Vong. They're not canon anymore, unfortunately, but it was a really cool thing, because they made it so that, like, after Palpatine died, and after the Empire was gone, the New Republic was just getting formed, and this new threat shows up from the unknown regions called the Yuzong Vong. And the New Republic really couldn't stop them. They didn't really know how to fight them, because Palpatine was actually like preparing for war. That he kind of knew they were coming. He had like a forced premonition or whatever. He knew they were coming, so he was building up the galaxy's military. Palpatine was a good guy. I know, crazy. They had this incredible, such a good idea in Legends, and that just became non-canon because Disney wanted to make him a standard bad guy with no depth whatsoever. Writing. Anyway, what else going? Good things the Empire did. They created jobs. They made the economy good. They developed technology. All this stuff. That's pretty standard stuff. But it's worth mentioning. You know, it's worth mentioning that the Empire just made stuff... Like, if you're just a regular citizen, not engaged in war, your life was pretty good under the Empire, compared to, like, the Republic, where you was under the threat of, like, the CIS invading your home planet. You know, or, like, the New Republic, where everything was just pretty much lawless and crazy, like we see in The Mandalorian. It's just a lawless time with, like, bounty hunters and syndicates and all sorts of stuff running all over the place. It's crazy. So, if you're just in the Empire, like, just living your life as an Imperial citizen, you were pretty good, even if you were an alien. It was great. It was so good, alright? What else? The unified galaxy. Never done before. We see that the Empire is in the Outer Rim, in A New Hope, right? They're stormtroopers on Tatooine. Alright, this is big, because we don't see the Republic having any presence in Episode 1. You know, they said, like, they made this whole point about how on Tatooine, Republic credits were no good. There was slavery, which is against, you know, the Republic's rules, but they couldn't do anything about it, because they had no sort of jurisdiction there. Empire, jurisdiction all over the place. Now, we did kind of allow slavery to be a thing in certain places, but, moving on. What else do I have? Order and peace. Alright, this is the thing. Everyone's like, oh, the Empire promises peace, but it's a lie. I don't know why the rebels say stuff like that. It was actually peaceful under the Empire, you know? We got rid of any other threats, you know, the CIS, Republic, gone, alright? There was an era of peace for like the 20 or so years we actually got to be in charge. And then, you know, the rebels showed up and attacked us and made it not peaceful. Just saying, it was peaceful until the rebels showed up. But they acted like, oh, it was awful under the Empire, and then we made it so peaceful by starting a war. Stupid. It's almost as if these movies are about war or something. Anyway, what else? Yeah, crime. We've reduced a ton of crime, right? We got the Hutts under control, crime syndicates with all that spice trade and stuff. Right? Look at The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. We see all this crime stuff. That's what these whole shows are about. Because it's about how much, like, lawlessness is going on. Because the New Republic doesn't do anything about it. So, like, the Pikes are like, hey, we're gonna go invade Tatooine and start selling spice there. The Empire's not gonna stop us anymore. Dude, like the Empire was stopping all this stuff. Anyway, that's, yeah. So that's a bunch of good stuff the Empire did. And I got a couple closing remarks here to this already long video. A couple closing things I'd like to mention. So first up, democracy versus totalitarianism. This is a bit, you know, big philosophical kind of question, but I want to talk about it in the context of Star Wars. Because democracy doesn't really work in the galaxy. And that's because Force users exist, which makes things difficult. Because, I mean, what's to stop a Force user from saying, you will vote for the candidate I want you to vote for? To, like, a whole crowd of people. That could mess things up. So instead of, like, just having all these people, like, screwing up democracy and making it not work, like we saw during the Republic era. Now, obviously, the Jedi weren't doing that, but they could have. Definitely could have, and maybe they were. Maybe they just didn't show us. Whatever, that's kind of a smaller point, but, like, having Palpatine as just, like, one ruler, you can just do everything, he doesn't meddle with people's lives, which is really good. He's like, hey, I have all the power now, and I'm just gonna do everything myself. And you don't gotta worry about this, you don't gotta worry about this. I got it all under control, I'm just gonna do it all myself. Is it bad to have one person have all the power? Yes. Was he kind of corrupt? Yeah. Was he kind of evil? Yeah. But did he screw with people's lives? No. It's pretty good. Like we got to mention that. It was pretty good under the Empire, as I mentioned. Living under the Empire was good, despite what the rebels want you to think. They want you to think that living under the Empire was this awful thing, because they made the New Republic, and living under that sucked. So, yeah. And then, yeah, that's my thing. And also, yeah, the Empire does a lot of evil things. We see a lot of this in Star Wars Rebels, you know, the movies and The Mandalorian. They mention a ton of other evil stuff, like Operation Cinder. Stuff like that, kind of hard to justify. Because it's just difficult. The Empire did evil things. Alright? I will admit that the Empire isn't perfect. Alright? They did evil things. But a lot of these cases are like, you know, like an officer who just, like, totally didn't care about his troops. Or, like, a couple of, like, secretive, you know, groups over here who did this thing in the Empire. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's bad. But I don't think the Empire is inherently evil, alright? I don't believe that to be the case. Even though there's a ton of evil people in it, the Empire isn't inherently evil, alright? So that's why, overall, they're the best faction in Star Wars. Because they aren't as evil as they seem, alright? They did a lot of good for the galaxy that goes underappreciated. They created peace, like, for the longest amount of time. Most stable government that existed. Every other government that came before or after the Empire was pretty stupid and weak. Or just bad, like the Republic. the Republic lasted for a long time, but it wasn't that great. As soon as like a threat, that being the Separatists, showed off, the Separatists showed up and started screwing things, and the Empire went from existing from thousands of years to like, oh, we got like maybe 20 years left before they totally fall apart and the Empire comes up. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, that's all my points. That's all I got for you. The Empire is the best faction in Star Wars. All right. I hope you have at least been convinced, or maybe you've softened up to the idea of the Empire. That's all I can ask for. All right. I just want to get rid of the stigma that like, oh, the Empire is just bad and evil. No, we're not. We're kind of good. All right. Could be better. We could be way better. I'm not gonna deny all the bad stuff the Empire did, but just appreciate them more. All right. I feel like they don't get appreciated enough, and all I really want is just a Star Wars show or some movie or game that actually focuses on the Empire and gives them depth. Because for so long, it's just been this one-dimensional idea, like the Empire bad guy, rebel good guy. It can be so much more interesting. Think of like Thanos in Infinity War. He's the villain, but he has so much depth to him. He has the most screen time in Infinity War because he actually has a goal. He's not just, I'm gonna wipe out, the universe because I'm evil. He wants to wipe out the universe for a good reason, right? That's what makes him such an interesting and compelling villain, because his motives are interesting. I want more of that in the Empire to make them like an actual compelling villain that we as the audience can care about, right? Because if it's just like, oh, they're evil because the movie says they're evil, so the good guys got to go blow up the Death Stars, kill a bunch of people. Don't think about it too much, because if you do, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. I didn't even mention the Death Stars in that video. Think about this. 2 whole battle stations filled with millions of troops and all sorts of other workers and whatnot on these 2 battle stations, both blown up by the rebels, and they're shown off as heroic moments. But when Alderaan blows up, oh, that's so awful. It's the same thing, people. It's literally the same thing. Whatever. Anyway, that's all I got for you. This is a long video. If you actually watched all the way through, I appreciate it. Hopefully you actually like the Empire, and like my videos if you watched all the way through. Unless you were like, some cringe rebel who just skipped to the end and didn't watch the video all the way through. That'd be so cringe of you if you didn't help me get watch time on videos, and if you didn't subscribe. You don't want to be cringe, do you? You don't want to be a rebel like that stuff. Jeez. If you're a real cool stormtrooper, subscribe. Leave a comment telling me how amazing I am, because I have a big ego. See you, everybody. Hope you liked this video. I try to do more stuff like this, every once in a while. And some people like longer videos. So if you did, bye. This is the end of the video. I need to end it before I ramble on anymore. Bye.